What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on TikTok. Let's get into this. So, right now, I'm going to speak about the press conference and the official announcement of Fabio Wardley versus Jarrell Big Baby Miller. And this one, they both guys were there on Saturday night at the fight between Joe Joyce versus Filip Hrgovic, and they both got in the ring. They made an official announcement, and the fight's going to be taking place on the 7th of June. And as it is customary nowadays in boxing, brilliant time to be a fan of boxing. You know, the press conference, I didn't realize, but I was happy to have seen it. You know, the press conference happened today, this afternoon, so I was able to watch it on the lunch break. And yeah, it was very, very explosive. And what we saw in this press conference, just to sort of sum it up, was intimidation tactics, big time intimidation tactics from Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Or, you know, and as we know with him, there's always a lot of controversy with Big Baby Miller, because many question whether he should even be in boxing, because he's a guy that's failed numerous PED tests. So there's always going to be that question mark over him and that sort of dark cloud over him. But he's managed to sort of improve his boxing. He's managed to do well. He's only lost to Daniel Dubois, Andy Ruiz, you know, guys like that. So I drew against Andy Ruiz, lost to Daniel Dubois. But he's a guy that's on his game. He's a credible threat to Fabio Wardley. I think he'll be a tough test. And this press conference was very, very explosive because of him, basically, him and his kind of intimidation tactics. And the way it started was quite normal. Fabio Wardley, quite conservative, just saying he's going to be a different animal, a different beast when he goes onto his home ground, and when he's on that pitch and letting his hands fly, he's going to be a different animal. He can do this, he can win this fight. Very standard, run-of-the-mill, typical stuff that you're going to say there. No, nothing too derogatory of Big Baby Miller. But when it came for Big Baby Miller's time, as usual, swear words come out. I'm gonna F you up and this, that, and the other. Wardley comes back, well, you need a pacifier. That's why they call you a baby. Excuse me. And then that's where it all snapped. From that time where Fabio Wardley said, yeah, you need a pacifier because you're a big baby. And, that was it. From that moment, Big Baby Miller snapped. And then he started going on about some diss track. I heard your diss track and it's whack and blah, 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 blah. And then it kind of simmered a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, what is this diss track? And then Fabio Wardley sort of acknowledged it that, yeah, whatever, like it seemed as if he was saying he kind of knew of some diss track. But I mean, I was a bit baffled as to, what he's talking about. Funnily enough, I did have a family there at the fight on the weekend, and one of my family actually said, oh, did you hear the diss track? And I was like Googling, trying to find, what this diss track is, and I didn't actually find anything. But, according to my family, they said that, there was some sort of diss track, so I guess maybe they could hear it in the stadium or in the venue, or there's something there. But allegedly there is some sort of diss track, and it kind of simmered down, and then Big Baby sort of went crazy again. He said, yeah, you think I'm a pacifier, man? Yeah, come shut me up, and he's such a big unit, Big Baby, that he was basically looking to fight right there and then, got up off his seat, and it took, I think, 2-3 security guards to sort of get hold of him and stop him from advancing forward to Fabio Wardley. And then he done this thing where, he's like, I'm in your town. Yeah, say Big Baby Killer. Big Baby Killer's a death threat in my hood. Saying that, when you make them diss tracks, it's a death threat. in my hood and etc. etc. You say where I'm from is, you know, you're threatening my life and rare. He went into like a whole tirade about how, you know, what Wardley done is serious and now it's personal. He's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and you know, now I'm in your hometown. You're scared and blah 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 blah, and you know, you soft and you ain't no tough guy and blah, and it just kept going on and on and on, and it was basically for a number of minutes it was just all big baby, and you know, even Fabio Wardley was trying to give it back to him, saying, if I did something, I'll stand on it. But you could hear that in Fabio Wardley's voice that he didn't really want it in the kind of street way. He just wants to sort of do his job in the ring. So he was a little bit looking a bit uncomfortable in that situation, and the voice cracked a bit. And you could hear from Jarrell Miller that this was his element. You soft. Yeah, you ain't doing that, and all this normal, you know, kind of gangster talk or whatever you want to call it, thuggery, you know, was all coming out, and you know, Miller was going on and on and on, and he basically got a good 5 minutes to go into a tirade, and Wardley, you know, it was overbearing for Wardley because Wardley couldn't really get a word in edgewise. I mean, Frank Warren kind of was the mediator in this, who kind of said, look, go and sit down, man. You know, you get your respect on the day when you fight. You go in, you fight this man, you win the fight. That's how you get your respect. Go and sit down. We don't need this. This is just a bad look on the sport. And Frank was kind of the voice of reason that could sort of help to simmer Miller down. But yeah, it was very explosive. And for me, it was just a case of Miller. I mean, I don't know, this track probably may exist, may not exist. I hear allegedly it exists, so let's just say it does exist. But you know, for me, Miller was just sort of going over the top here, and you know, a lot of what he said is just to try and sort of intimidate Fabio Wardley, and I think a lot of what he said is kind of nonsense, really, because at the end of the day, you're talking all this street talk and you ain't like that, you ain't this, you ain't that. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with boxing here. And boxing and the streets is two different things. Boxing is a sport where you need a certain amount of discipline, you need a certain amount of know-how, a certain amount of skill. And it's not the same as this thuggery that you see in the streets. It's a different skill set, it's a different mindset that you need. So whether or not you come from the streets or you come from poverty, it doesn't matter. You think to yourself, guys like Muhammad Ali, they come from middle class background. You know, not every great fighter comes from, you know, sort of adverse poverty. A lot of them do, but not every one of them has to. So all this talk, you're not like that. You know, you don't need to be like that. You could be a gentleman in the street and still be an animal in the ring, still be deadly in the ring. So all this talk that he does, yeah, it would matter if we're talking about street stuff, but we're not talking about street stuff. We're talking about boxing. We're talking about what you do in the ring, and that's what matters. And I think Miller, he always sort of gets carried away into it, trying to prove you're not a thug, you're not like me, you know. He tried it with Daniel Dubois as well, but look what Daniel Dubois done to him, destroyed him in the end. So, you know, again, it's the street stuff doesn't matter when it comes to boxing. You know, what matters is what you do in that ring. Do you have that mentality in the ring? Do you have that skill? Do you have that discipline? Do you have that intelligence to do the right? That's what matters in the ring. But he understands what he's doing. You know, in my view, he's using intimidation tactics to say, I'm the big bad man, I'm the thug, you better be afraid of me, you know, I really do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm the real big hard man, and you're just like some soft boy from England. That's what he's trying to say there. But for me, Fabio Wardley seems like he was a bit bothered by it, but I don't think it's really gonna get to him, and I don't think it's gonna work. But I think it will light a fire in Wardley, and we will get a great fight. But yeah, interesting first press conference. And from Miller's side, it looked like he wanted to fight right there and then. He was trying really hard to get to Wardley, and Wardley seemed a lot more reserved and calm, and Wardley just wants to get to the actual fight and do it in the ring. But Miller seems to want to do it right here and right now. And yeah, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section. Until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.